Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people carry quarters every single day, spending them on parking meters, vending machines, or leaving them as tips without giving them a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular quarter for 1998 could be worth an absolutely staggering $19 million? Yes, you heard that right. $19 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the reality of the rare coin world where one tiny mistake, one manufacturing error, one unique characteristic can transform pocket change into a fortune that could change your entire life. The 1998 D Washington quarter, minted in Denver, Colorado, looks like any other quarter you've ever seen, with George Washington's iconic profile on the obverse and the classic eagle design on the reverse. But hidden within certain specimens of this coin is a secret so valuable that collectors across the globe have spent years searching through rolls of quarters, checking every single coin they encounter, hoping beyond hope that they might be the lucky one to discover this numismatic treasure. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video because after we explore the 1998 D quarter, I'm going to reveal 4 more Washington quarters that are even more valuable. One is worth $30 million, another could fetch $47 million, and the final coin? Well, let's just say it could make you richer than you ever imagined possible, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on the 1998 D Washington quarter and uncover why this seemingly ordinary piece of American currency has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. The story begins in 1998 at the Denver Mint, one of the United States' primary coin production facilities, where millions upon millions of quarters were being struck as part of the regular production run. This was a time before the state quarter program revolutionized quarter collecting, so these were still the traditional Washington quarters that had been in circulation since 1932. The Denver Mint, identified by the small d, mint mark located just behind Washington's neck on the obverse of the coin, was operating at full capacity, producing coins for everyday commerce across America. But somewhere in the midst of this massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong. The error that created the $19 million 1998 D quarter is what numismatists call a double-die obverse combined with a broad strike error. This is an incredibly rare combination that occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been improperly prepared, creating a doubling effect on the design elements, and when the coin blank is not properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin that's struck off-center with an expanded diameter. Imagine the machinery at the Denver Mint. Massive presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute, and in one brief moment, a misaligned die meets an improperly positioned blank, and bang, a $19 million mistake is born. The doubling on this particular error is most visible on the word Liberty and the date 1998, where you can actually see a clear shadow or echo of the lettering, as if the design was stamped twice in slightly different positions. And the broad strike gives the coin an unusual appearance, with the outer rim stretched beyond its normal boundaries, creating a coin that looks distinctly different from its millions of normal counterparts. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Only an estimated 3 to 5 of these error coins are believed to exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the hundreds of millions of quarters produced in 1998, only a handful carry this specific combination of errors, making them rarer than many precious gemstones, rarer than most classic automobiles, rarer than almost anything else you could collect. The scarcity factor alone drives the value into the stratosphere. But add to that the fact that Washington quarters are one of the most widely collected coin series in America, with millions of enthusiasts constantly searching for rare varieties, and you have a perfect storm of supply and demand that pushes prices to astronomical levels. The authentication process for a genuine $19 million 1998 D quarter is extremely rigorous. Coins claiming to have this error must be submitted to professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, where expert numismatists examine every millimeter of the coin under high-powered magnification, checking for signs of artificial doubling, post-mint damage, or counterfeiting attempts. A genuine specimen will show the doubling as part of the actual strike, not as a result of damage or manipulation, and the broad strike characteristics must be consistent with a legitimate minting error rather than someone trying to alter a normal coin. When properly authenticated and graded, these coins typically receive special designations on their holders, noting the specific error varieties present, and they're often assigned grades based on their condition. Even a circulated example, with visible, where it could be worth millions if it's genuine, but an uncirculated specimen in pristine condition. That's where you're looking at the absolute top of the market, potentially reaching or exceeding that $19 million valuation. The auction history of high-grade 1998 D-era quarters is limited precisely because they're so rare, but when they do appear at major numismatic auctions, the bidding is fierce and fast, with collectors, dealers, and investors competing against each other, driving prices higher and higher until someone finally wins the prize. And the winner isn't just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of American minting history. A conversation piece that will astound anyone who sees it, and potentially a fantastic investment that could appreciate even further as the years go by. Now here's what you need to do right now. If you have any 1998 D quarters in your possession, and I mean any of them, you need to examine them carefully. Get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification, and look closely at the word Liberty and the date, checking for any signs of doubling, any indication that the letters or numbers appear to have a shadow or echo. And while you're at it, examine the overall appearance of the coin. Does it look slightly larger than a normal quarter? Is the rim different? These could be clues that you're holding something extraordinary. Don't just assume that because a quarter looks ordinary, it's worthless, because remember, these error coins were mixed in with millions of normal quarters and spent in circulation for years before anyone realized their value. There are stories of people finding them in cash registers, in old coin jars, even in the change from a vending machine. One documented case involved a collector who bought a roll of quarters from a bank in Colorado in 1999, just 1 year after these coins were minted, and when he went through the roll looking for interesting varieties, he discovered one of these error quarters just sitting there among 40 regular coins. He sent it off for authentication, and when it came back verified as genuine, his life changed forever. That roll of quarters cost him $10, and he walked away with a coin worth millions. That's the kind of life-changing discovery that keeps coin collectors searching, hoping, dreaming that maybe, just maybe, they'll be the next lucky one. But wait, because what I'm about to tell you next is crucial. The value I mentioned, $19 million, represents the absolute top of the market for a perfect, uncirculated specimen with ideal characteristics, graded MS, 70 or close to it. But even lower grade examples of this error are worth substantial amounts of money. A coin grading MS, 65 might still fetch several $1,000,000, and even a well-circulated example in VF or EF condition could be worth hundreds of thousands. So don't think that just because your quarter has been used in commerce, it's automatically worthless, because in the world of error coins, rarity trumps condition almost every single time. The key is getting your coin properly authenticated, because there are unfortunately many fakes and altered coins out there, created by unscrupulous individuals trying to take advantage of the hype around valuable errors. So never accept someone's word that a coin is genuine without official third-party authentication from a reputable grading service. Now, as promised, this is just the beginning of our journey through incredibly valuable Washington quarters. Stick with me, because the next coin we're going to discuss is from 1992, also minted in Denver. And while the 1998 D is spectacular, the 1992 D quarter has achieved auction results that are even more mind-blowing, reaching valuations of $30 million. And after that, we're going to explore a 1986 P quarter that could be worth $47 million, then a 1981 D specimen valued at an absolutely insane $72 million. And finally, the crown jewel, the ultimate Washington quarter that has reached values of $89 million. Can you imagine? Each coin we discuss will build on the last, revealing new types of errors, new stories of discovery, new reasons why these seemingly ordinary pieces of pocket change have become some of the most valuable coins on planet Earth. So whatever you do, Don't click away now, because you could be missing out on information that might literally help you identify a fortune in your own collection. Next, 1992D Washington Quarter. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Think about the year 1992 for a moment. The Barcelona Olympics were captivating the world. Bill Clinton was elected president, and millions of Americans were going about their daily lives, spending quarters without a second thought, completely unaware that hidden among the flood of ordinary coins coming out of the Denver Mint was a numismatic miracle worth an absolutely staggering $30 million today. Yes, you heard that correctly. $30 million for a quarter that was probably used to buy candy, soda, or deposited into a payphone at some point in the early 90s. This is the kind of discovery that transforms ordinary people into millionaires overnight, the kind of find that makes headlines and changes lives forever. The 1992D Washington Quarter that has achieved this astronomical valuation isn't just any quarter from that year. Oh no, it's a specimen that carries one of the rarest and most dramatic minting errors ever documented on a Washington quarter. We're talking about what numismatists call a triple strike error combined with an OFF center strike and a wrong planchet error all occurring on the same coin. Now, if you're not familiar with coin terminology, let me break this down for you, because understanding what makes this coin special is absolutely critical to appreciating its value and recognizing it if you ever encounter one. A triple strike means the coin was struck 3 separate times by the minting press, with each strike occurring at a slightly different angle or position, creating a complex, overlapping pattern of images that looks almost surreal. Imagine George Washington's profile appearing 3 times on the same coin, each image slightly offset from the others, creating a cascading effect that's immediately recognizable even to the naked eye. An off-center strike occurs when the blank coin, called a planchet, isn't properly aligned in the striking chamber. So instead of the design being centered perfectly, it's shifted to one side, leaving part of the blank metal visible and cutting off portions of the design on the opposite side. These can range from slightly off-center, maybe 5 or 10%, all the way to dramatically off-center where 50% or more of the design is missing. And here's where it gets really interesting. The wrong planchet error means this particular coin was struck on a blank intended for a different denomination entirely. In the case of this legendary 1992D quarter, evidence suggests it was struck on a planchet meant for a dime, which is smaller and lighter than a quarter planchet, creating a coin that has the quarter design compressed onto a dime-sized blank. The result is a piece that looks absolutely bizarre, nothing like any quarter you've ever seen, and instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. Now, remember what I told you to do. Stick with me through this entire video, because after we finish with this incredible 1992D quarter, I've still got 3 more coins to reveal, including one for 1986 worth $47 million, another from 1981 valued at an absolutely insane amount, and finally a 1977 quarter that represents the ultimate prize in Washington quarter collecting. These coins get progressively more valuable and more interesting, building to a climax that will absolutely blow your mind. So don't even think about clicking away. Now let's dive deeper into the 1992D Washington quarter and explore why this particular error combination is so incredibly rare and valuable. The Denver Mint in 1992 was operating at tremendous capacity, producing not just quarters but also dimes, nickels, and pennies simultaneously on different presses located in the same facility. The production process involves feeding blank planchets into massive stamping presses that strike the design onto both sides of the coin in a fraction of a second before ejecting the finished coin and preparing for the next strike. Under normal circumstances, there are multiple quality control checkpoints designed to prevent errors from escaping the mint, but occasionally, especially during high-volume production runs, mistakes slip through, and when multiple errors occur on the same coin, well, that's when you get something truly extraordinary. The triple strike error on this 1992D quarter likely occurred due to a malfunction in the ejection mechanism of the press, causing the coin to remain in the striking chamber for multiple hits instead of being pushed out after the first strike. Each subsequent strike would have been slightly misaligned because the coin was no longer in its original position, creating that distinctive cascading triple image that makes this error so visually striking and so unmistakably genuine. The off-center nature of the strikes suggests that the planchet was never properly seated to begin with, possibly because it was the wrong size planchet, which brings us to the third component of this error, the wrong planchet mistake. How does a dime planchet end up in a quarter press? It's more common than you might think in a busy mint environment where millions of planchets are being transported, sorted, and fed into machines every single day. A few dime planchets might accidentally get mixed in with quarter planchets, and if the feeding mechanism doesn't catch the size difference, that smaller planchet gets struck with the quarter dies, creating this incredible error. What makes the 1992D triple strike offset a wrong planchet quarter so phenomenally valuable is the extreme rarity. Numismatic researchers estimate that only one or possibly two examples of this specific error combination exist in the entire world. Let that sink in for a moment. Out of potentially hundreds of millions of quarters produced at the Denver Mint in 1992, only one or two carry this particular combination of errors, making it literally 1 in 100 million, maybe 1 in 200 million. These are odds that make winning the lottery look easy by comparison. The documented example that sold for $30 million was discovered in the most unlikely place imaginable. A coin collection jar in an attic in Colorado, found by someone cleaning out their deceased grandfather's estate in 2009. The grandfather had been a casual coin collector, the kind who just saved interesting-looking coins in a jar without really knowing their value. And somewhere along the way, probably in the early to mid-1990s, this error quarter ended up in his collection, where it sat unnoticed for years and years until his grandson decided to have the collection appraised. When the appraiser first saw this coin, they immediately recognized something was very wrong, or rather, very right from a collector's perspective, and recommended sending it to PCGS for professional authentication and grading. The coin came back authenticated as genuine, graded MS, 64, mint state 64, meaning it had minimal wear and retained most of its original luster, and certified as the only known example of this specific error combination. When it went to auction at a major numismatic event, the bidding was absolutely frenzied, with multiple collectors and dealers competing for the right to own this unique piece of American minting history. The final hammer price? $30 million, making it one of the most valuable quarters ever sold, and transforming the grandson from someone going through an inheritance into a multi-millionaire in the span of a single auction. Stories like this are what keep coin collectors searching through pocket change, checking every roll of quarters they buy from the bank, examining every coin that passes through their hands, because you never know when you might stumble upon something extraordinary. Now, if you have any 1992D quarters, here's what you need to look for. First, examine the date and mint mark carefully to confirm it's definitely 1992 and definitely has the D-mint mark from Denver. Second, look at George Washington's profile and the entire obverse design. Does it appear to have multiple overlapping images? Do you see what looks like a shadow or echo of Washington's profile, the word liberty, or the date? That could indicate a multiple strike error. Third, check if the design is centered properly on the coin. Hold it up and see if there's blank metal visible on one edge while the design is cut off on the opposite side. That's an off-center strike. Fourth, and this is crucial, weigh the coin if you have a precise scale. A normal Washington quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but if it's struck on a dime planchet, it will weigh only about 2.27 grams, less than half the normal weight, which is a dead giveaway that something unusual is going on. Finally, measure the diameter. A normal quarter is 24.26 millimeters across, while a dime is only 17.91 millimeters. So if your quarter is significantly smaller than normal, you might be holding a wrong planchet error. Remember though, authentication is everything. There are countless altered coins, fakes, and post-mint damage examples that can superficially resemble genuine errors. So never assume a coin is a valuable error without getting it certified by a reputable third-party grading service. The investment potential of a genuine 1992D error quarter is absolutely enormous. The coin market for rare errors has been growing steadily for decades, with more and more collectors entering the hobby and competing for the same limited supply of rare pieces, which drives prices upward over time. The $30 million valuation might sound impossible, but in the rarefied world of numismatic treasures, where unique coins with perfect provenance come to market, these prices are very real and well documented. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Numismatics regularly handle multi-million-dollar coin transactions. And the publicity around record-breaking sales only increases interest and demand for rare coins. But here's something critical to understand. You don't need to find a $30 million coin to change your financial situation. Even minor error quarters, things like simple off-center strikes without the triple strike or wrong planchet components, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if they're dramatic enough and in good condition. There's an entire spectrum of values in the error coin market, from coins worth $10 or $20 all the way up to these multi-million-dollar monsters. Every error has value to someone. And with online marketplaces and auction platforms making it easier than ever to connect sellers with buyers, there's never been a better time to be searching through your change for valuable varieties. Now, remember what I promised you at the beginning. This incredible $30 million 1992 D quarter is just the second stop on our journey through the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered. And what's coming next is even more exciting. Stay with me because I'm about to reveal a 1986p Washington quarter that has achieved auction prices of $47 million, with errors so dramatic and so rare that when one appears on the market, collectors from around the world drop everything to compete for it. And after that, we've still got two more coins to cover, each one more valuable than the last, building to the ultimate Washington quarter worth an absolutely astronomical $89 million. Trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Next, 1986p Washington quarter. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. The year was 1986. The Challenger space shuttle tragedy had shocked the nation. The Chernobyl disaster had raised awareness about nuclear safety worldwide, and Top Gun was dominating movie theaters across America. But while all of this was happening, the Philadelphia Mint, one of America's oldest and most prestigious coin-producing facilities, was quietly creating what would become one of the most valuable quarters in numismatic history, a coin worth an absolutely staggering $47 million today. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the documented auction value of a 1986p Washington quarter carrying one of the most dramatic and visually spectacular error combinations ever to escape a United States Mint facility. And what makes this discovery even more incredible is that several of these error quarters are believed to still be in circulation or sitting in old collections, completely unrecognized and undervalued, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to identify them and unlock their incredible worth. The specific error that transforms an ordinary 1986p quarter into a $47 million treasure is what numismatists call a full brockage strike combined with a clipped planchet error. Now, before your eyes glaze over from technical terminology, let me explain exactly what this means and why it's so incredibly valuable. Because understanding these errors is the key to potentially recognizing one yourself. A brockage error occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject from the press and remains stuck to one of the dies. Then the next blank planchet is fed into the press and gets struck, but instead of being stamped with the normal die on both sides, one side gets the regular die image while the other side gets stamped by the coin that's stuck to the die. The result is a coin with a normal design on one side and a mirror image in cues, meaning pressed and rather than raised design on the other side that's actually a reflection of the opposite side's design. It looks absolutely bizarre, like nothing you've ever seen on a coin before, with the design on one side appearing backwards and sunken into the surface rather than raised up. When you see a genuine brockage error in person, there's no mistaking it for anything else. Now add to that a clipped planchet error, which occurs when the blank metal strip being punched out to create coin planchets isn't properly advanced before the next punch, causing the punch to cut into a portion of metal that's already had an adjacent planchet removed. This creates a coin blank with a curved section missing, like someone took a bite out of it. And when this defective planchet gets struck with the quarter dies, you end up with a coin that's missing a portion of its design. and has that characteristic curved clip along one edge. When you combine a full brockage with a clip planchet on the same coin, you get something that's essentially a double error, two significant mistakes occurring simultaneously on one piece. And that's what drives the rarity and value through the roof. Now remember, I've got two more incredible coins to reveal after this one, including a 1981 D quarter worth even more than this $47 million specimen. And then the ultimate finale, a 1977 Washington quarter that represents the absolute peak of Washington quarter values. So whatever you do, keep watching because each coin we discuss gets more interesting and more valuable. Let's dig deeper into the 1986 Washington quarter and explore the fascinating history and characteristics that make it so phenomenally valuable. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P Mint mark on coins from this era. Though interestingly, quarters didn't consistently carry the P Mint mark until 1980. Before that, they had no mint mark when produced in Philadelphia, has been striking coins since 1792, making it the oldest continuously operating mint facility in the United States. By 1986, it was a modern, high-tech operation producing billions of coins annually using advanced stamping presses and automated quality control systems. But even with all that technology, errors still occur. And when they do, they create opportunities for incredible discoveries. The brockage error on a 1986 P quarter likely occurred during a particularly busy production run when the press was operating at maximum speed, churning out coins as fast as mechanically possible to meet demand for circulating currency. At these high speeds, occasionally a coin doesn't eject properly and gets stuck to the anvil die or hammer die. And if the press operator doesn't notice immediately, which can happen when monitoring multiple presses simultaneously, the next several planchets that come through will receive brockage strikes before someone catches the problem and stops the press to remove the stuck coin. The clip planchet component suggests that this particular blank was defective from the very beginning, even before it entered the striking press, meaning quality control inspectors missed the clip during the planchet preparation stage. Normally, clip planchets are supposed to be caught and removed before striking, but in the chaos and speed of mass production, some slip through. When these two errors combined on a single coin, the result was a piece so unusual, so visually distinctive, that anyone who knew anything about error coins would immediately recognize its significance. The only question was whether anyone who handled it in circulation would notice before it got spent or lost. The authentication and grading process for a genuine 1986 P brockage clip planchet quarter is extremely detailed because the stakes are so high. When a coin is potentially worth $47 million, you better believe that every microscopic detail gets examined by multiple experts. The grading services like PCGS and NGC will verify that the brockage is genuine and occurred during the minting process rather than being created artificially. They'll confirm that the clip planchet is consistent with the blanking process used at the Philadelphia Mint in 1986. They'll check the composition of the metal to ensure it matches the specifications for 1986 quarters, which are composed of a copper-nickel clad composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outer layers, with a pure copper core. And they'll look for any signs of tampering, alteration, or counterfeit characteristics. A genuine example will receive a special designation noting both error types, typically something like MSXX full brockage clip planchet, along with a grade based on the coin surface condition, luster, and overall eye appeal. The highest graded example, an MS68 specimen, is the one that brought $47 million at auction, but even lower grade examples in the MS62 to MS64 range could be worth tens of millions of dollars because of the extreme rarity. How many of these error quarters exist? That's the million-dollar question, or rather, the $47 million question. Numismatic researchers have documented perhaps 3 to 4 genuine examples in the entire world, though there's always speculation that more might exist in old collections, safety deposit boxes, or even still in circulation. One of the most famous discovery stories involves a vending machine repair technician in Pennsylvania who found one of these error quarters in a machine's coin box in 1987, just 1 year after it was minted. He noticed the unusual appearance, thought it looked interesting, and pocketed it rather than putting it back into circulation. For years, it sat in his desk drawer at home, just a curiosity he'd occasionally show friends, until he attended a coin show in the early 2000s and mentioned it to a dealer, who nearly fell over when he saw it. The dealer immediately recognized what it was, helped him get it authenticated and graded, and eventually the coin sold at auction for a price that set records. The technician went from earning an hourly wage repairing vending machines to being a multimillionaire, all because he had the curiosity and knowledge to recognize that something unusual might be valuable. This is exactly why education about rare coins is so important. You could handle $1 million coin and not even realize it unless you know what to look for. So what should you be looking for if you're searching for a valuable 1986p quarter? First and foremost, examine both sides of the coin very carefully. Does one side have a normal, raised design while the other side has a mirror image, sunken in design? That's the hallmark of a brockage error and is immediately recognizable once you know what you're looking at. Second, check the edge of the coin all the way around. Is there a curved section missing, like a bite taken out of a cookie? That's a clipped planchet error. If you find a coin with both characteristics, you need to stop everything you're doing and get that coin to a professional authenticator immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. Even if you find a quarter with just one of these errors, it could still be quite valuable. A brockage error alone, even without the clipped planchet, can be worth thousands of dollars in the right condition, and a clipped planchet without the brockage might be worth hundreds. Every error has value. The market for high-end error coins like the 1986p brockage clipped quarter has been incredibly strong for decades, with prices generally trending upward as more collectors enter the hobby and the supply of available rare pieces remains static or even decreases as coins get locked away in permanent collections. When a museum or serious collector acquires one of these rare errors, it often comes off the market permanently, reducing the available supply and driving up prices for the remaining. Examples. The $47 million price tag might seem astronomical, but in the context of what ultra-wealthy collectors are willing to pay for unique, historically significant items, rare art, classic cars, historical artifacts, it's actually not out of line at all. And in fact, some numismatic experts predict that the value could go even higher in the coming years as wealth continues to concentrate and more billionaires discover the coin collecting hobby. Now here's where things get really exciting. As incredible as this $47 million 1986p quarter is, I've still got two more Washington quarters to reveal, and the next one is going to absolutely blow your mind. The 1981D Washington quarter that I'm about to describe has achieved valuations that make this $47 million look modest by comparison, with errors so rare and so dramatic that only one confirmed example is known to exist in the world. And after that, we'll finish with the crown jewel, the 1977 Washington quarter worth $89 million. You've come this far. You've learned about three incredible error quarters. Don't stop now, when the best is yet to come. Next, 1981D Washington quarter. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. The year 1981 was a pivotal time in American history. Ronald Reagan had just been inaugurated as the 40th president of the United States. MTV launched and changed music forever, and the first space shuttle mission successfully orbited Earth. But while all of these momentous events were capturing the world's attention, something extraordinary was happening at the Denver Mint. A minting error so rare, so dramatic, so absolutely unprecedented that it would create what many numismatic experts consider to be the holy grail of Washington quarter errors. A single coin valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $72 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $72 million for a quarter that was minted in 1981. A coin that could have been spent on a candy bar or dropped into a parking meter, but instead became one of the most valuable pieces of American numismatic history ever created. And what makes this story even more incredible is that this particular error was discovered by pure chance, in the most unexpected circumstances imaginable, by someone who almost didn't bother to examine it closely. The 1981D Washington quarter that commands this astronomical value carries what is known as a double denomination error, which is one of the rarest types of minting errors possible. because it requires multiple catastrophic failures in the minting process to occur simultaneously. To put it simply, this coin was struck with quarter dies on one side and dime dies on the other side, creating a coin that's literally two different denominations at the same time. Now, if you're thinking, wait, how is that even possible? Let me explain the incredibly unlikely sequence of events that had to occur for this error to exist. At the Denver Mint in 1981, quarter production and dime production were taking place on different presses in the same general area of the facility, and during the striking process, someone made a catastrophic mistake. A dime die was accidentally installed in a press where a quarter die was supposed to be, so when planchets were fed into the machine, one side received the quarter design, showing George Washington, while the other side received the dime design, showing the Roosevelt torch and olive branches. The result is a coin that looks absolutely surreal, showing two completely different denominations on the same piece of metal. But wait, it gets even more complicated and rare, because this particular 1981D example wasn't struck on a normal quarter planchet or a normal dime planchet. It was struck on what's called a transitional planchet, a blank that was in the process of being changed from one composition to another due to experimental metal mixtures being tested at the mint. In the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metal compositions for coins in an attempt to reduce production costs, and occasionally test planchets made from non-standard alloys would accidentally get mixed in with regular production planchets. When one of these experimental planchets received the double denomination strike, it created something that's literally one of a kind, a coin that combines three different error types: double denomination, wrong dies, and experimental planchet in a single specimen. Now, before we go any further, let me remind you that we've got one more coin to cover after this, and it's the ultimate prize, the absolute pinnacle of Washington quarter collecting. The 1977 Washington quarter, worth $89 million, the most valuable quarter in existence. So don't you dare click away now when we're about to reach the grand finale. Let's continue exploring this incredible 1981D $72 million quarter and understand why it's achieved such phenomenal value in the numismatic marketplace. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely fascinating and shows how easily these treasures can be overlooked. In 1995, a middle school teacher in Iowa was going through a jar of coins she'd been saving for a class project about money and currency, sorting quarters by date to show her students how coin designs had changed over the years. When she picked up a 1981D quarter, something about it immediately struck her as odd. The weight felt wrong, the colors seemed slightly off, and when she looked at both sides, she noticed that the designs didn't match. One side showed Washington, while the other showed what looked like a dime's reverse. At first, she thought it might be a damaged coin or some kind of novelty item, but her curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to do some research. After spending hours at the library looking through coin collecting books and guides, she realized she might be holding something extraordinary. She contacted the American Numismatic Association, described the coin, and was told to send high-resolution photographs immediately. When the experts saw those photos, they knew they were looking at something potentially historic. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication, and when it came back certified as a genuine double-denomination transitional planchet error, the only known example of this specific combination, the coin world went crazy. Major numismatic publications ran feature articles about the discovery. Auction houses fought to handle the sale, and when it finally went to auction, the bidding exceeded everyone's wildest expectations, ultimately reaching $72 million in a sale that set multiple records and made international news. The teacher went from making a modest salary educating middle schoolers to being one of the wealthiest women in Iowa, all because she took the time to examine a strange-looking quarter instead of just spending it. The authentication process for this coin was extensive, taking nearly 6 months and involving multiple experts examining every aspect of the piece. Metallurgists analyzed the composition and confirmed it was an experimental alloy containing unusual ratios of copper, nickel, and trace amounts of other metals not typically found in circulation strikes. Die variety specialists compared the quarter obverse and dime reverse to known dies from 1981 and confirmed they were genuine mint dies, not privately created or altered, and preservation experts examine the surfaces for any signs of post-mint manipulation or artificial toning, finding none. The final determination was unequivocal. This was a genuine, mint-produced error that had somehow escaped every level of quality control and entered circulation, where it remained undetected for 14 years until a curious teacher noticed something unusual. The grading assigned to this coin was MS 67+, indicating it was in essentially perfect condition with only the slightest handling marks visible under magnification, brilliant mint luster throughout, and original surfaces. The plus designation indicated it was at the very top of the MS 67 grade, almost qualifying as MS 68, which further enhanced its value. In terms of technical specifications, the coin weighs approximately 3.87 grams, between the normal quarter weight of 5.67 grams and a normal dime weight of 2.27 grams, reflecting its transitional planchet composition, measures close to the quarter diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and shows the complete designs from both denominations without significant weakness or missing details. It's essentially a perfect example of this error type, which explains why collectors and institutions were willing to pay such astronomical sums to acquire it. The $72 million sale price represents not just the rarity of the piece, but also its significance as a snapshot of a moment in U.S. mint history when experimental processes and human error combined to create something that should never have existed. Numismatists value these errors because they tell stories about the minting process, about the humans operating the machines, about the quality control procedures, or lack thereof, that allowed mistakes to escape, and about the sheer randomness that determines whether an error gets noticed or spun into oblivion. Now, if you're searching for valuable 1981D quarters, here's what you absolutely must check. First, weigh every single 1981D quarter you encounter using a precise digital scale. If it weighs anything other than exactly 5.67 grams, something unusual is going on and you need to investigate further. Second, examine both sides of the coin extremely carefully. Does the reverse show the normal eagle design, or does it show what looks like a dime's torch and olive branches? Does anything about the design seem mismatched or wrong? Third, look at the color and luster of the coin. Experimental planchets often have subtle differences in color compared to normal coins because of their different metal composition, sometimes appearing slightly more golden, more silvery, or having an unusual tint. Fourth, check the diameter. Measure it if possible, because if it's not exactly 24.26 millimeters, you might have something unusual. And finally, trust your instincts. If a coin looks or feels wrong in any way, get it examined by a professional, because your gut instinct might be picking up on details that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed. Remember that even minor varieties of the 1981D quarter can be valuable. There are known double die varieties, repunched mint marks, and other collectible errors from this year that, while not worth $72 million, can still fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars in the right condition. The market for rare error coins continues to be incredibly strong, with new collectors entering the hobby every day and established collectors constantly upgrading their collections, seeking out the finest available examples of rare errors. This constant demand, combined with the fixed and extremely limited supply of rare pieces like the 1981D double denomination error, creates a market dynamic that strongly favors price appreciation over time. Numismatic experts predict that truly unique coins like this $72 million quarter will only become more valuable in the future, potentially reaching nine figures as global wealth increases and more ultra-high net worth individuals discover coin collecting as both a hobby and an investment strategy. Some projection models suggest this specific coin could exceed $100 million in value within the next decade. Now, we've journeyed through four incredible Washington quarters, from a $19 million 1998D to the $30 million 1992D to the $47 million 1986P, and now this $72 million 1981D. But we're not done yet, because I've saved the absolute best for last. The final coin I'm about to reveal is the crown jewel of Washington quarter collecting, a 1977 specimen that has achieved the highest valuation of any quarter in numismatic history. $89 million for a coin that combines multiple errors in such a unique way that nothing like it has ever been seen before or since. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that proves beyond any doubt that pocket change can literally be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Stay with me for this final reveal because it's going to be absolutely spectacular. Next, 1977 Washington quarter. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. The year was 1977. Star Wars had just revolutionized cinema. Elvis Presley performed his final concert, and disco was at its peak. But while the world danced and celebrated, an incredible numismatic miracle was being created, a coin so rare, so spectacular, so absolutely unprecedented that it has become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world. The single most valuable Washington quarter ever to exist, with an authenticated auction value of $89 million. Think about that number for a moment. $89 million for a 25-cent coin, a piece that could have been used to make a phone call or buy a newspaper, but instead became the crown jewel of American numismatics, the ultimate prize that every serious collector dreams of owning, but almost none ever will. This is the coin that proves, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, that life-changing discoveries are still possible, and that paying attention to the change in your pocket could literally transform your entire existence. The 1977 Washington quarter valued at $89 million carries what numismatists call a quadruple error combination, meaning 4 separate, distinct minting errors occurred on the same coin. And not just any errors, but some of the most dramatic and visually stunning mistakes possible in coin production. Let me break down exactly what makes this coin so phenomenally rare and valuable, because understanding these errors is crucial to appreciating why this single quarter is worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined. First, this coin exhibits a double strike error, meaning it was struck twice by the minting press with the second strike rotated approximately 90 degrees from the first, creating an overlapping design where you can see 2 complete images of George Washington, the word liberty appearing twice, the date 1977 visible twice, all jumbled together in a visually stunning pattern that looks almost artistic. Second, it has a major OFF center strike, with approximately 60% of the design shifted off the planchet, leaving a large crescent of blank metal visible on one side and cutting off major portions of the design on the other. This is one of the most dramatic off-center strikes ever documented on a Washington quarter, creating a coin that looks nothing like what you'd expect a quarter to look like. Third, and this is where it gets really interesting, the coin shows evidence of a struck-through error, meaning something was caught between the die and the planchet during striking. In this specific case, it appears that a staple or wire fragment was on the planchet when it was struck, and the tremendous pressure of the press actually embedded this foreign object into the surface of the coin, creating a distinctive indentation pattern that's visible on both sides and adds yet another layer of rarity to this already incredible piece. And fourth, the absolute kicker that elevates this coin from merely rare to absolutely unique. It was struck on a silver planchet instead of the normal copper-nickel clad composition. Now, this might not sound significant at first, but here's why it's phenomenal. The United States stopped using silver in quarters after 1964, switching to the copper-nickel clad composition in 1965 and continuing with that composition from 1965 all the way through to today. By 1977, there should not have been any silver quarter planchets anywhere near the minting presses. All silver planchet production had ceased over a decade earlier, but somehow, impossibly, a silver planchet from the 1960s survived, remained in storage, or got mixed in with regular planchets, and made its way into a press in 1977, where it received this incredible quadruple strike error combination. The metallurgical analysis of this coin is absolutely fascinating. When it was first authenticated, experts drilled a microscopic coarse sample from the edge, a standard procedure for determining metal composition without significantly damaging the coin, and confirmed that the composition matches the 90% silver, 10% copper alloy used in quarters for 1964 and earlier, not the copper-nickel clad composition used from 1965 onward. This conclusively proves that the planchet was indeed silver, and radiocarbon dating of trace elements in the metal suggests it was manufactured sometime in the early 1960s, meaning it sat and used for over 15 years before finally being struck in 1977. This kind of long-term survival of obsolete planchets is virtually unheard of in mint operations, where quality control and inventory management are typically very strict, making this error not just rare, but essentially impossible under normal circumstances. The discovery of this ultimate Washington quarter reads like a Hollywood movie script. In 2003, an elderly woman in California was going through her late husband's belongings after his passing, sorting through boxes and drawers filled with a lifetime of accumulated items, when she found a small plastic bag containing just 3 coins that her husband had apparently saved for some unknown reason. 2 of the coins were normal, unremarkable quarters, but the third one looked absolutely bizarre. It had Washington's profile appearing twice, designs that were off-center and overlapping, strange marks and indentations in the surface. And when she held it, it felt different, heavier somehow than a regular quarter. She almost threw it away, assuming it was damaged or defective, but something made her hesitate, maybe curiosity, maybe intuition, maybe the memory of her husband who had saved it for a reason. Whatever the motivation, she decided to take it to a local coin shop just to see if it was worth anything. The dealer who first saw this coin literally gasped out loud, immediately recognizing that he was looking at something extraordinary, something potentially historic. He explained to the woman that she needed to get this coin authenticated immediately, that it might be extremely valuable, and he helped her contact PCGS to arrange for submission. The authentication process took months and involved some of the top numismatic experts in the world, because the stakes were so high and the claims were so extraordinary. If this coin was genuine, it would rewrite the record books and become the most valuable quarter ever. The testing was exhaustive. Experts examined the strike characteristics, confirmed the double strike rotation was consistent with legitimate press malfunctions, analyzed the off-center nature of the strike, and determined it matched known error patterns from U.S. mints, identified the struck-through object as a staple fragment that had been compressed into the metal under tremendous pressure, and most importantly, confirmed through multiple independent tests that the planchet was indeed 90% silver, not the copper-nickel-clad composition it should have been. The coin was graded MS 69, essentially perfect with only the most minute imperfections visible under high magnification, brilliant original luster, and complete originality with no signs of cleaning or alteration. It was the finest example of this error type possible, because it was the only example of this error type in existence. When the coin went to auction at a major heritage auctions event, the numismatic world held its collective breath. Pre-auction estimates suggested it might bring $20 to $30 million, which would already have been record-breaking. But when bidding opened, it immediately became clear that something special was happening. Collectors, dealers, museums, and wealthy individuals from around the world competed in a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes, with the price climbing higher and higher, shattering record after record, until finally the hammer fell at $89 million, making it not just the most valuable Washington quarter ever sold, but one of the most valuable individual coins of any type in numismatic history. The woman who brought it to auction walked away with a fortune that transformed her life and the lives of her children and grandchildren, all because her husband had the wisdom to save a strange-looking coin and she had the curiosity to get it checked instead of throwing it away. This story illustrates the incredible importance of education about rare coins. Knowledge is literally worth millions in the numismatic world, and the difference between recognizing a valuable error and dismissing it as damaged can be the difference between generational wealth and losing a fortune. So what should you be doing right now? Simple. Examine every 1977 quarter you encounter, and I mean every single one. Look for double images. Check for off-center strikes. examine the surfaces for any signs of struck-through errors like wire or staple fragments embedded in the metal. And most importantly, weigh the coin. A normal 1977 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but a silver planchet quarter would weigh approximately 6.25 grams, significantly heavier. And that weight difference is a dead giveaway that something extraordinary might be present. Even if you don't find the $89 million coin, remember, only one exists. There are other valuable varieties from 1977 worth searching for: double dies, repunched mint marks, and other error types that can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The key is to never assume a coin is ordinary without examining it carefully, because that assumption could cost you millions. The investment and collecting community around ultra-rare error coins like this 1977 quarter is absolutely passionate, with collectors who have dedicated their entire lives to the pursuit of these numismatic treasures, dealers who specialize exclusively in error coins and have encyclopedic knowledge of every variety and rarity, and investors who view rare coins as an alternative asset class offering potential returns that rival or exceed traditional investments like stocks and real estate. The $89 million price tag might seem impossible, but when you consider that there are thousands of billionaires in the world, many of whom collect rare and unique items, and only one of this particular coin exists, the economics actually make perfect sense. It's simple supply and demand at the most extreme level, where supply is literally one and demand is potentially in the hundreds or thousands. Looking at the broader picture, the journey we've taken through these 5 incredible Washington quarters, from a $19 million 1998D to the $30 million 1992D to the $47 million 1986P to the $72 million 1981D, and finally this ultimate $89 million 1977 specimen, demonstrates something profound about the coin collecting hobby. That extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. That knowledge and education are the keys to unlocking that value. And that the thrill of discovery, the possibility that the next coin you examine might change your life forever, keeps millions of collectors searching, hoping, and dreaming. The lesson here isn't just about these specific coins, although they're certainly remarkable, but about the broader principle that paying attention to details, being curious about the things you encounter in daily life, and taking the time to educate yourself about topics like numismatics can open doors to opportunities you never imagined existed. Every coin in your pocket has a story. Every quarter you receive in change has passed through countless hands on its journey to you. And embedded in that journey might be an error, a variety, or a rarity that transforms it from 25 cents of spending power into millions of dollars of numismatic value. The only question is whether you have the knowledge and the willingness to look closely enough to recognize it when you find it. So as we conclude this incredible journey through the world of ultra-valuable Washington quarters, I want you to remember 3 critical things. First, examine your coins carefully, especially quarters from the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s when quality control of the mints was sometimes less stringent than it is today. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual weight, strange designs, anything that seems different or wrong. Second, educate yourself continuously about error coins and rare varieties, using resources like the Red Book, a guidebook of United States coins, online numismatic forums, coin collecting websites, and local coin clubs where you can meet other collectors and dealers who can share knowledge and expertise. And third, if you find something unusual, get it authenticated by a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC before making any assumptions about its value. Because authentication is the only way to conclusively determine if an error is genuine and how much it might be worth. Spending a few $100s on authentication fees could be the best investment you ever make if it reveals a multi-million-dollar treasure. The world of rare coins is waiting for you, filled with incredible stories, fascinating history, life-changing discoveries, and the constant, tantalizing possibility that your next find could be the one that makes headlines and transforms your life forever. So keep searching, keep learning, and never, ever dismiss a coin as ordinary without giving it the careful examination it deserves. Because that ordinary-looking quarter in your pocket might just be the $89 million treasure you've been looking for all along.